Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone tonight. Thank you for coming. Notice is hereby given of a regular meeting of the District Board of Directors to be held at 105 Port Road, Port Isabel, Texas on October 25th, 2023 at the hour of 5:30 p.m. for consideration of the business of the agenda below. This notice is posted at the office of the district on October 20th, 2023 at 11 a.m. in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551041, 551050, not less than 72 hours prior to the time of the said meeting. Present, we have a quorum today. We have Mr. Botter, myself, Mr. Friedman, and Mr. Donahue present. We have notice of Mr. Starkey not joining us today, and I don't know about Dr. Lalonde. If I may please have everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation.
With allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we ask that you continue to bless everyone here and the work that we do. Please allow it to be of greatest benefit to the citizens of the communities we serve. We continue to pray for much needed rain into reservoir levels study. Father God, we also ask and pray for our board member Jason Starkey and his family, that you provide comfort and peace in their hearts as they prepare for you God to receive Mr. Starkey's father. Touch their hearts and minds so they may know and feel you there as they go through this. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Thank you, Noe.
Thank you. Anyways, for the record, we have Dr. Lalonde joining the meeting. That takes us to item 3, invitation to the audience for public comments.
Hey, thank you to the board and for keeping Mr. Starkey in your prayers. Tough time when you're losing a hero and stuff on Jason.
Yes.
Just a reminder, on November 1st, it's at 3:30, the workshop.
That's
So,
next Wednesday.
right, Friday, you'll receive the packets for that workshop. Yeah, next Wednesday.
Anyone else? No? Thank you. Sixth, item 4, consider and discuss for possible approval the minutes of the regular meeting of October 11th, 2023.
Move that we approve.
Motion for approval by Mr. Botter, seconded by Mr. Donahue. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 5. Carlos,
Yes, the reservoir levels, I left you a copy, still declining, 20.9%. So we're still at that stage 3 level, and continue to pray for rain. Hopefully that everybody can do the same. Continue to pray for rain. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Carlos. Item 6, District Engineers Report. Charles?
Good evening. So start off here with the status of LMWD water sewer improvements. We have completed a 60% level of design and the project fund. Looking at the construction cost estimates, we are finding ways to keep this in budget. So one of the primary efforts here to be able to keep this project budget is to look at so we've already completed the work on Seattle, which is pretty good. So there's some additional sewer lines that are already in the streets that we have to inspect to determine if there's a carries that they're connected to the district. So essentially, so we have the action item requested the commercial services, so it's trying to do that inspection. Basically, that word, we have a room to say up to $3 million production contract as so we're seeing $2 water sources. So that's something I'm thinking here for
It's great, especially with rising costs and stuff.
Yeah, we're still on track with the new limitations, so I think it's consistent. And then we'll start as far as schedule, we're looking to have 100% civil design
But I guess the question never has come up, what happens if they are short $1 million or something, just hypothetically, not before, but yes.
I mean, they have the budget fund that stays in their account of 1.4 million. So beyond that, we would need to request some other resolution, whether it be from their infrastructure fund or find ways to.
Hopefully it's not.
If I recall, we have 1.4 in one fund, and then they also have 1.4 extra in their fund. So there's a significant amount of money, and they're on the hook if it's more. Like they got to assess immediately and cover it. I think that's also in the contract. Like, they come up with the money stat.
Just wanted to double check.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, that's right now, I mean, I think we're in good ranges with these various alternatives and not necessarily. So that's how
We went over that pretty extensively at the time. Like, make sure we would never be left on the lurch.
So I guess that concludes the Long Island Village, we're looking at advertising construction January 2024. This is the board, March 2024, 548 construction contracts. So we can look at construction contracts over. That's the timeline for that project. And this next item here is going to the status the presentation initially out for the police PLC for the foundation.
Welcome, Bill.
Yeah, we should have a report, no PowerPoint tonight. Just some written verbiage, I won't read it, but probably the biggest thing we've been working on is the discharge permit, which is probably going to be, I won't say challenging things you can do along the way. So we had a meeting by phone or by Zoom with TCQ. So we had consultants that we working with that model, the report engineers, and so we went through that with them. So what we're trying to do is send a permit application in at the right time, and they suggested that we wait until two engineering perspectives finish the modeling, let them review it, and then submit an application. Because what they told us is there's two things. One is they learned from other history and problems that they've done, so they bring a lot of knowledge of what not to do. And so they're being very, very good with us and telling us, okay, let's do it this way. The other thing is have a public hearing. And so I mentioned the time that we're going to get started with together. We're going to have a advisory committee to start building support within the community. We're not, this is not going to happen overnight, but as soon as we bring them in.
It's time to get our cheerleaders together.
Yeah. So I guess maybe Carlos, you and I can, maybe if you've got a couple names of people in the community.
Bond committee would be the one I'd start with, those names.
One of the persons we have a meeting on Friday is one of the board members at the navigation district. That's a start for the purpose of preparing for the intake permit and letting them know. And we advise them to put us in the one of their board meetings to present to everybody. But we got two board members that we need to go and have lunch with them and talk about our project.
So I think your challenge with South Harbor Island is your town representative, environmental health representative, just people that bring together, it may be you all public hearing on what you're doing, like public. And from that, create but we want to make sure that you bring them in at the beginning and not wait for the end. You're already, the train's already leaving the station and stuff. So it's better to bring them. So it was a pretty busy month. I would say, I say that with the organization that we're involved in, such as FMB started that great meeting. We had about 150 students in the house. Over 45 got there. Charles is now on the board of FMB. wasn't anybody else talking about seawater consolidation in the whole thing, Blackish, other states, yeah, it's not.
Meaning that there's nothing, no other or
I'm not saying there's
announced
no other
activity happening?
I don't say there's no other activity, but. there's no
Announced,
reason for
where?
other activity.
Just a little Madrid.
So that's why I thought it was important to get your name out there. And the other is Rainmaker Award dinner. I think I went through doing that. And so Texas D-Sal, sponsored Texas D-Sal and sponsored the table. And Charles was there, and he got sitting next to Representative Danny Lopez. And so it's strategic to put him there so that he could, yeah. Yeah. Right. So that was good, and that's refreshing memory. That was where Senator Perry and Representative King, they're the ones who did the legislation to get the $1 million funding for all the new water supply. It's going to be tight because the new water supply now has shrunk to about 300 million and 700 million to go for old pipe systems. So, but I think there should be another round of funds. I mean, because you're going to have surplus funds. And so we just want to make sure that the district it's the fair share and that I highlight the project. And then Carlos on September 15th gave a presentation at the Texas Water for a monthly meeting they had in Parliament. So it was after last year. So that's caught a lot of eyeballs from the water. We ended up at one 2-3 page white paper we put together. So that was good. And then we met also in October with the Bureau of Information. He gave us information on, I guess, a study, funding for a study, and that would be for piloting. And I think it's up to $800,000 for this type of funding. And we're looking at possibly doing that with a school, college. You get 100% funding better than 50%, is that correct?
Yeah, that's the goal.
So.
I'm not following what you're talking about.
Okay, so there's another, you just got awarded, 50/50 match for $1 million to do the feasibility.
Right.
And this is another program within the city of information,
Okay,
and this is specifically for pilot facilities.
got it.
And so TCQ is requiring us to do a pilot, which I don't blame, I'd want to do it anyway, because you want the most cost-effective way to do this project. And so they have a matching, it's a matching 50/50. So I don't know if it's 800,000 is all you can get.
No, the 800,000 will be,
Okay.
if the 800,000 grant is matched to 800,000 local. Yeah, I guess the main driver there is because, we're stretched pretty thin to have local match at this time for, coming up with 800,000. So the benefit of a university is they can be offered the project at 100% grant. So if the university is the lead on the offer there. So that's what we still came up with the word to the university.
Yeah, it's due, I think, on the 15th of November, so it's pretty soon. So
Around the corner.
we got a call on Friday, I guess. But that.
With which university?
Well, I guess there's options. Texas State University, that's the professor that we worked with before. So he's like on Friday, so we'll be having a call with him. I mean, there's a reaching out to Professor UTRG. There's an option, and then I don't know if we plan to be in here, but I mean, it's still up to whoever.
Yeah, it's pretty good. They'll have to be able to move, but it's hard to move. It's a short time frame.
But if I remember the presentation that Texas State gave, they were ready to jump in and get on board.
Yeah, so because we were working with them on basically finding stormwater and stuff like the surface water flows. So yeah, it would be the project manager one on they see one, but that's where we had our conversation. Right, was to see what pieces did.
Okay. Anyway, a lot of things going on. We'll be on hold with permits for the time being until the chief reports.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Engineer, maybe you can answer this, it's related to the reservoir levels. Do they release from Falcon and Amistad like a consistent amount? Or like it's closed and they decide when to release, and how do they make that decision?
Well, the orders are placed by each account holder, but we're one account holder of everybody along the river.
Yeah.
And I think it's just depending on the orders and kind of velocities, that's how they determine, that's how it's supposed to be done.
Is there a time of year where like is it consistent that they're releasing X amount, every single day, or?
No, I think, say, like an irrigation, of course, we've got a spike in demand. I
Yeah.
think there's no availability, they've already cut off the agriculture, that's gonna drop it close to now. I think it just varies. Because like one thing we were talking about, Paso, they use the water to us, right? So their surface waters are seasonal, because the river dropped down to zero flow, in El Paso. But I'm sure that's where we regularly control that, and we just hold it there and drop it.
They do release, like 3 months right here, 4 months.
Free
For
fall.
the irrigators. We do that, I think, September was the last part of the month, but they're gonna cut it off. They do release up there. Over here in Falcon is just, whatever waters or water. That's why they call it carry water, where somebody else waters and we water at the same time, and it'll help each other and like carry the water out of the water. Otherwise, if it rains, over the limit that's on this side of the lake, they'll call and say, no charge water, you can pick up 24 hours.
That hasn't
And then
been happening, has
they
it?
call every day, like 24
Not
hours.
since last
Yeah, a lot of different waters.
We have?
Yes. But, lately, no weekend, nothing.
We have had a substantial amount earlier in the year.
Yeah, it was kind of wet early in the year, right? I guess I just am wondering, like, hey, are they gonna be closing the reservoir? Maybe people have a lot of the water they already were gonna get this year, so they don't need to get as much. Just in doing some,
Yeah, because there's a,
like, have we already ordered all the water we're supposed to order this year, or where are we at?
no, we order at least once a month.
No, we order as needed, at least once a month, depending on the time of year, but pretty much within the next couple of months, we're just going out to just about that. And, at any given time, we just hold about 20 days of water in our reservoir.
Yeah.
And then we just continue to put it up as
And everybody, needs water throughout the month, so there's releases like daily. But they pick up the water wherever they're at. It takes 5 days for the water, for us to pick up the water when we, order it, 5 days. So when they release it, the 5th day, we start pumping. And, we have a certain amount, like acre feet per second that we pick up according to our pumpage.
right,
pumps.
depending on how we regulate our pump and the capacity of the pump itself, we request it as a certain CFS. And that's how they release it.
And we're the last guys on the river, right?
Second,
Yeah,
Brownsville.
Brownsville.
Brownsville PB is last.
It's funk and junk.
Yeah. I remember, one of my good friends, mentors always used to say, why don't we pump every last drop out of the end of that river? I never really got
If
good.
you've been down there,
Yeah.
like Matamoros, it's basically just like a muddy basin.
Yeah, is it?
I mean,
So
by
we're
the
basically
college,
taking
by
all
the
of it?
college, it doesn't even drain into the Gulf of Mexico.
Really? Yeah, is that much? Good, we should, I mean,
Well, even SpaceX actually has a diversion there,
do they?
it's actually a water plant where you're having trouble with that, that's different, you're blocking it.
And of course, we don't let the reservoirs drop more than, 90% or 85 before we start pumping again. So,
If
we
you
don't
track
let
it,
it
because
drop.
I've gone from like Progreso, Mexico, and then Matamoros, Mexico, like a couple days apart, and you can see a big difference
Oh, yeah,
between the river running and not running.
okay,
Good question.
thanks.
Conclude?
Yeah, that was easier.
Thank you.
Rain today, yesterday,
Item
up there,
7,
so.
consider and discuss for possible approval of Southern Trenchless Solution quote number 23-105-305 to clean and televise additional sanitary sewer lines in Long Island Village.
Yeah, requesting approval here to software by board contract, for proposal, requesting additional, $48,500 to, inspect the remaining lines.
This is out of their funds, out of the
Yeah,
funds,
I think
project funds, great, yeah, motion approved.
Motion for approval by Dr. Levon, seconded by Mr. Potter. All those in favor? None are opposed, motion carries. Item 8, consider and discuss the water loss and current water meter system of the district.
Is this the one I requested?
Yes, sir.
This thing,
So, I prepared a short, presentation. Discuss this topic. So, let's begin with bill consumption. So this is the bill consumption for the last 6 years. So from year to year, we have some variation in water use. We contribute. Main causes of that variation is weather and general changes in economic activity. So other than the 2019-2020 year when we had our AMI system installed, we see this pattern of consumption going up and down. And that significant decline there between 2018-19 and 19-20. We think that that's because of the tools that we have now available to respond to water losses. Where before, when people had leaks in their homes, a lot of times they didn't know until they got high water. And now with the tools that we have available, the smart meter system, they get alerts very quickly. We're able to identify leaks very quickly. And that's why we see that it's that's what it's. And also the 1920 year, that's when we had a significant effect on what we can see on the table there that this specific year was down 3%. That amounts to 38,500
From the year past, down 3% from prior year.
Correct.
But down 15% from a high in 2017. Yeah, so we're down 15% from that.
So when we noticed this problem with this meters in May 2023, we saw a sharp increase in bad digital. That's a part of the meter that reports the water usage, and that leads to water loss as water delivered to the customer. So the meter and the register is under warranty by the manufacturer and unit. And then they were having this issue. We asked the manufacturer at that time to go ahead and switch this from the door to analog registers because those are mechanical and they don't require any power to record the consumption. So that reduced our lead time from 4 months to 3 months. And we had previously ordered 150 registers to get the stock, and those were switched to analog. And we also have 150 registers to be attached to us.
So you think the analog is more accurate collecting the data?
Not necessarily as far as accuracy, but the accuracy of the meter isn't really affected by that. The part that measures is still spinning this. That's not really good on that. It's just the recording. We need something to be recording those measurements.
consistently as it being used.
So, where are we at with replacements? These are the last 4 months of meter replacements. So we received our first shipment of 150 registers that we replaced. We met with the representative in August. We reiterated those constraints that we had. They committed to providing a contract period to replace 150 registers that are coming in as market replacements. We just received those today, actually. Those 450, we just received those today. So we are waiting on response from you as far as when we can start funding. Currently, we have 68 registers that are ready to be replaced. We've already completed that spot.
Is that why I see some residences with marked lines and boxes? Because those, the ones they're going to replace, like even in my own neighborhood, I saw, that's another subject.
He's asking if there's marked lines.
Some of the streets on the island I saw were marked in blue, with some of the boxes and stuff. Are they gonna replace those or?
No, probably they, requested for a utility,
Spot? Okay.
Yeah, so maybe somebody's gonna be pouring a table or something, so that's gonna be all on like the meter and the main line.
Okay.
Service.
So the contractors will be doing work. So what's the financial impact? So water and sewer services provides 92% of our revenue. So this year, we already have our revenue. We missed the budget for utility services that combined 5.7%. That's combined water and wastewater. And that amounts to 356,000. The good news is that that revenue was replaced 100% by other sources of revenue, which are. Yes.
That revenue was not replaced. That is lost revenue. We should look at it as such. That's $356,000 we could have had that we do not have. So, yay, we made our budget, but we didn't replace it.
So, this is the breakdown of those revenue sources that were performed. We had a sale of surplus equipment and materials, which amounted to 89,000. We also billed more than expected on miscellaneous invoices, which is primarily for damages to our property. We also received 29,000 grant proceeds for the on tap fees, that was water taps, sewer taps, and system development charges that brought in about 100. And investments also these are the numbers, all categories.
This is that's not the one. Get to the water loss page, man. That's the one that matters. There we go. Let's talk about it.
So, water loss, the water loss for this year is 8.85%.
Explain in detail how we figure that out, so that I understand.
So, I guess I'll ask my expert, Noe, that's more on the operational side, so get a better explanation.
Okay, so what we do is we compare the bill consumption to our production meter, which is whatever we push out of a watering tank.
Is that the one that comes like fully treated potable water? There's a meter, it comes out, so we know exactly how much we shoot out of potable water.
That's correct.
Okay, not raw water.
Not raw.
Okay, so just potable water, it's getting shot out, and then we know how much we bill and we calculate the difference.
We calculate the difference, but we also include the discrepancy of the meter, which is a production meter, possible discrepancies of residential meters, flushing, line breaks, whatever estimates that distribution crews provide to us, wherever they can, as close as they can get. And again, the flushing that, Martin is adding, that takes a lot of water to maintain residual throughout the system. Take all of those into consideration, but we added into the calculations. 8.85 is more or less where we are.
So that 8.85, is that water that has gone out of our treated water that we have not been able to bill for and we cannot account for? Or we can account for, well, 8.85% is not billed, but we know we're, 4% of that is flush, or it's like, no, we don't know.
Right, no, at this point, we have no charge water, we have, water that is, gone through any which meter that we can provide, and this is actually the real loss is what the Texas water doesn't bill cost.
So real, like unaccounted for.
Unaccounted for.
Don't know where it went.
We don't know where.
So
Yeah, but we expected to lose 6.88. So the expected loss, like,
That's kind of like a projection that we came up with, that's where we were supposed to have been. Because the question was, how much water can we attribute to maybe, meters that might not be working, right? That was what came up the last board meeting. So based on the last 3 years, we came up with a trend, right, an average, and we added it to, where we were, expecting to be, or, we took an average and we added the trend average, and we came with an expected percentage, right? So we came to about 1.97%. That is actually, the difference, and we can maybe attribute to meters, and then you also have the actual losses that we can expect.
Prior to going with Mueller meters, with Hat Badger, and we were losing somewhere between 6 and 8%, but the meters were not registered as far as the water.
okay, so this has 2019, you're at 5.5. Do we know what we were at 2018 and 2017? Because those were on our first graph, or we don't have data for that.
We do have some data. There's something in the numbers that, that I couldn't explain for 2017, I believe it was, and which that's the reason why you're not here. We do have previous data, historical data that we can provide, going back.
Was it higher or lower? Or loss, water loss?
For 2017?
Yeah.
It was actually, based on the numbers, we billed, more than we produced.
Awesome, great year. Okay, that's a good year.
That's why we did it.
Perfect.
That's why
We were billing for
That's a good
rainwater, good.
Yeah, that actually, that's not the first time that's occurred in the numbers, the statistics.
Okay. How about,
Yeah, we don't have.
okay, so there may be also some problems with our measurement. But it seems like at the end of the day, we know exactly how much water we billed for, right? And we should know exactly how much water went out. And you're saying that should be 8.85%. So
Well, industry-wide, what's the average?
I don't know what the industry average is. I do know that less than 10%, you're by TCQ standards, you're doing okay. Anything higher than that, you should be looking into, something that can correct the issue.
If I remember correctly, it's between 10 and 15%.
Okay.
The allowance that TCQ kind of mentions all the time, 10 to 15%.
that's because TCEQ isn't paying the bill.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's easy for them to say that.
It seems like it's rising every year.
No, actually, it's been fairly consistent. I mean, within reason.
And it's due to a lot of entities that are.
If I'm reading this right, you're from 5 to 8, basically.
so what actually is that dollar amount that you can tie to that? You know what I mean? Like you got some percents here, but what amount of lost
How much is
revenue?
5%?
Yeah, 5%
What's the
is,
value of 5% on
Yeah.
that board?
yeah. So I'd love to know what 5.5 is versus 8.85%. So, okay,
It
we're
really
down.
depends on how it's billed and what type of account it would
Yeah.
be billed to get a better number.
But we know, we should be able to know an average amount of,
Yeah, I think we were talking about, let me go back to these numbers for,
The page jumped.
water sales, we were down 3.3%, and that amounted to, 210,000. So if we say 2%, we should be.
I'm not sure that calculation is correct. Yeah, also there would also be sewer tied to that.
Yeah, the wastewater is not needed, so that's a function of the water consumption.
You're trying to get the
Yeah.
number from the
Yeah.
intake to the outtake.
Yeah, I wouldn't try and estimate based on the number you just told me, because there's so many other factors that can go into that, The reason though that it's lower consumption might not just be all tied up into water loss, right? Which is basically what he was saying.
Yes, that there's some variability in that.
Maybe you throw us just in the background, like, hey, you somewhere you must know, like, our average amount is X, and you can get me a number for what that actual number is.
Averages for non-residential.
Yeah, I mean, just totally not right now. When you're not here, like, hey, that 5.5%, put a number on each of these. We believe we lost, X amount of revenue to water loss. Does that make sense? So our revenue would have been, 10 million without the water loss, and with the water loss, we're at 9 million, so we lost $1 million. I'm just throwing junk out there.
Assuming that we have zero water loss, or
Yeah, I want to know, what would we have if we had zero water loss versus the water loss we had? You should be able to estimate that.
If I can just say, I mean, it's never expected to have zero water.
No,
I mean,
yeah.
You can provide the information,
Yeah.
right? But I wouldn't expect that.
I get it, and that's fine. We wouldn't expect that, but we should know, like, okay, hey, how serious is this issue, right? Because if we're at 5.5 and we say, hey, historically, we've been okay at 5.5, and now we're at almost 9, what is that dollar amount there, that extra 3%, what are we actually talking about? So just next time, just throw it out there. And that's both sides, water we bill plus the sewer on the other side, right? We gotta consider both of those. So you guys said expected 6.88, not that a going up rate is good. I would argue, do you guys think this matters, or does it not matter?
It does matter.
Yeah, any loss matters.
Yes.
Right? It's just, in terms of statistics and what's provided, the information that's provided to us by TCU, I wouldn't say that this is a number that's way out or out of the norm.
This is a number out of the norm?
No,
It
it's
isn't.
not.
Oh, it's not a norm.
You need to
Right.
have a certain expectancy of water loss, because of our aging infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera.
Distance of travel? That's a
One
big
of
one.
the things that we're begin to look into,
You're
for
traveling,
instance,
it's water
Mr. Alon,
30
is
miles.
the water line that's in the bay, we're gonna be looking into that to see if anything's going on there.
Yeah, that's a 10
That
inch, right?
water from
The
the
10 inch that
the
goes
water,
across?
this doesn't
One
count
under-
from the
under
water.
the water bill.
Berry,
This only counts from once we've treated it.
Treated to.
Yeah, so it's
to-
not 30 miles.
when it gets to the customer.
Yeah, to the customer. So, I mean, I would just love to, if it's a meter problem, because if we've been consistent, we put on new meters, and now suddenly we're going up every year, and that corresponds to the meters continuing to break down. That, to me, while it doesn't prove it, certainly shows I would suspect a correlation there. Like, our meters are breaking more, our water loss is going up. That would be the first place I would look.
Ineffective meters.
Yeah, and then if we can show that that's what it is, then we tell Mr. Hanson over here, hey, we have a cause of action against these guys because their product's not working, and it's costing us to lose $250,000 a year after we went with them, and we would like to talk to them about helping us out there, or actually making right what they've made wrong. Is that, am I right in saying that, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of factors to consider, but, it could be.
One of the things that, that I heard today is that, instead of 450 meters, they're gonna send like, so, just to see that, that's just good. And like I mentioned, Mr. Cantu there, that if the meters are starting to break, that means that there's gonna be more. So they're gonna be sending more meters than what they had mentioned.
We're only at about a third of the life expectancy.
Early, like, right. We're just starting to see. So it's gonna happen that there's gonna be more sooner or later, and the good thing is that they're gonna be sending a lot more meters. Their cost.
Now, we know we did have those. Does this account for, that water that we lost under the bridge this year? Is that part of this number?
That's, part of the number that
Yeah.
goes into breaks, but again, they're estimations, right?
Yeah,
We can only estimate.
yeah.
He's talking about too, that underwater 10
Yes.
inch,
Uh,
that, I
let 'em know.
don't know how they figure
Right.
where that one breaks at,
24
you
inch
know?
line?
So the plan is, you have a 30+ almost 40-year line, whatever the amount of years it is. What the plan is to put some kind of metering system, hopefully on each end of the line of the bay, right? And see if we can track it. If there's an issue, so we can correct it. If there isn't, great. And we'll continue looking into what is possible.
Yeah, we could have our own stuff at different points and try and narrow down where this
Sure.
problem could be.
Yeah.
Is it an island problem? Is it a Laguna Vista problem, right? By putting meters at different spots. I mean, makes sense to me as we continue to look into this. As we look at places like, hey, how can we generate revenue? Well, you can't really make people use more water, but we can always,
Get it more billable.
yeah, make sure we're billing for everything we should and really tamp down on our system. And, if we find a place where it's like, whoa, that's where that water's going, make sure we get on top of it. I know how hard that can be. We're always looking for leaks. Yeah, it's tough.
And I'd like to mention that Becky over here, she does a real good job in going back and researching the consultants the previous years. And there's a meeting that I want to talk with you and accommodate that number, and make sure that she accounts for the water that's being used.
So like
She's our billing clerk.
so a resident who's like, oh, they're down 20% this year, like things like that, we're able to look at that, go look into it. Is it that easy? Can you pull reports that easily? Like, can you go into the system and for example, say, print me a list of all the names whose billed consumption is down 20% this year?
We have books, and the books have the previous consumption.
Yeah. Like as a dentist, I can print out any number of reports for goofy stuff I want to look at. And that's a good one, like, hey,
Yeah, our system is
not as good as what I just said. No, okay.
Well, also you
Nice.
get the high and low bill alerts, they'll show up, right? If anything's out of its previous
When we
history.
look at the books, yes.
When we say look at the books, does that mean like a paper book, or are we talking computerized book? Boom.
Literally about it.
Okay, so we don't have that capability. Why not? Well,
She does.
We don't have a database? We don't have an electronic database of that.
the software that we use is
Further look into it.
Yeah, right, yeah. Absolutely. I don't know how, next time you go to do billing software, something that creates a database that can be researched. I can't believe in 2023, we don't have the capability to look at that we don't have a database.
Kind of like track your targets that
Yeah.
haven't been using or overusing, underusing, kind of track the consistency level.
Yes, we are wanting to upgrade, we're not even on the latest version of the current system that's part of that version 10 is something we want to get.
Whatever we do next, it would be great to have a database of each meter that is hooked up to our system. If we bill for it every month, that means we're getting the number somewhere.
Yeah.
Apparently you're writing it by hand. in there.
We get numbers, our system.
But to track the usages of each account,
Expected and.
Yeah.
determine, you know, what, to track their usage.
Yeah, absolutely. We should be able to track each meter on an ongoing basis. So as we go forward, whenever that, you know, it's not, whenever you come to us with a request, that, in my mind, ooh, that's a good one. We could, you know, we can tighten up our ship there by looking at that. And then suddenly you can run a little report and say, these are the 10 accounts, you know, they're way down.
Yeah, they'll definitely be.
You know, I don't, maybe Mr. Donahue over there, for example. You
Well,
know?
we can't have a budget shortfall next year. So that's not gonna work out well.
Yeah. Yeah, we gotta stop chasing the revenue side where we just raise revenue. We gotta also chase this side of things by making sure we're being as tight as we can be. And it's good to tell the public, hey, look, yeah, we're less than 10%, so we're not getting audited by TCEQ, but that doesn't mean we don't have a room for improvement. Okay, so keep looking at it and let's see if give us an update next time. How soon do we get these 450 in, and then another 1,000, and then where do we look? Because we don't want to be sitting here in a year and we're like, well, we came in at actually 9.5, and then we're at 10 suddenly, and now we are having to talk to TCEQ. We don't want to play catch up.
So like the 68 that's outstanding right now, that's represents 1 month.
Yeah.
That order could be the process.
That's just failures we know about, by the way. Yeah. And I don't think if we ask people to self-report under usage, if we're going to get many results out of that. So, although I'll tell you, it seems like my meters are working just fine. So. All right, thanks. Now let's do something with
Are we
that
ready
data.
for item 9?
Yes.
Item 9, consider and discuss for possible approval of the financial report for August 2023. Don't have a chance to look at some comments, questions, acknowledgement.
Acknowledged.
Acknowledged by Dr. Lalonde, acknowledged by Mr. Potter, acknowledged by Mr. Freeman, and acknowledged by Mr. Donahue. Next, item 10, consider and discuss for possible approval the purchase of time clocks for water plant, wastewater plants, warehouse, and main office.
Staff is recommending for approval and award the purchase of Franklin's Fiber Technology for $26,488. This will cover the annual maintenance of the first year. This is a single floor. We get it to them.
Didn't we replace those here in this office fairly recently, I thought?
2017, 2018.
Okay.
So, how do you guys clock in? It's a badge. Only you have your badge. It doesn't stay like on a peg system and you can just grab it off, like you take your badge home with you?
Just like this one.
Just wondering. At one point I had an issue where like somebody's buddy at my office was clocking in, and so I just switched to an
Eye
eye
or
scan.
fingerprint, yeah.
They do an eye thing, works great. Happened to save me like 15% immediately on my, save me money right away, I'll just put it that way.
Ours has a
We used to use the thumbprint, but then
Maybe that
all
was-
the departments were dirty and all that, messing with that.
And these all tie in together into payroll. These all tie in together, so yes,
Moving to payroll.
I move that we approve.
Motion approved by Mr. Potter, second by Mr. Donahue. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. Any opposed? None. Motion is carried. Thank you. Item 11, consider and review expenditures from October 1st, 2023 to October 15th, 2023. Questions, comments? Acknowledged?
Knowledge.
Acknowledged by Mr. Potter, acknowledged by Dr. Lalonde, acknowledged by Mr. Friedman, and acknowledged by Mr. Donahue. Item 12, consider and remove from the table the following executive session item tabled at the regular meeting on October 11th, 2023, deliberation regarding the evaluation of district employees to a general manager 551074. Need a motion to take this off the table.
Motion so moved.
Motion made by Dr. Lalonde, second by Mr. Balder. All those in favor? They are. Any opposed? None. Item 13, executive session permitted by the Open Meetings Act, VTCA Government Code Section 551001, et sequence under Section 551071, consultation with attorney under Section 551072, deliberations about real property under Section 551074, personnel matters. Item A, deliberation regarding the evaluation of district employee to general manager 551074. Item B, land purchase of Hess property for Port Isabel seawater desalination treatment facility 551071, 551072. Motion to go into executive session. Do we need a recess?
So moved.
Motion to go into executive session at 6:21 p.m. by Dr. Lalonde. Seconded by Mr. Balder. We are in executive session. I kindly ask those not involved with executive session if they could please excuse themselves. A, deliberation regarding the evaluation of district employee to general manager 551074.
Move that we table it.
Need a motion to table by Mr. Balder, second by Dr. Lalonde. All in favor?
Aye.
We are. Item B, land purchase of Hess property for Port Isabel seawater desalination treatment facility 551071, 551072. Need
Motion to move as directed.
motion to proceed as directed.
Second.
Motion made by Dr. Lalonde and seconded by Mr. Balder. Are all those in favor?
Aye.
They are. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned at 6:42 p.m.